Hey there, Appalachian State juniors and seniors. I am so incredibly thrilled to have you here for today's explainer on modern social media strategy. We're going to bridge the gap between local high country business tactics, think of your favorite spots right here in Boone, and massive global enterprise case studies. Because whether you're prepping for your capstone project right now or looking ahead to your post-grad career, mastering these exact strategies is absolutely going to set you apart from the pack. So, as future marketers, here is our roadmap for the session today. We're going to cover the social engagement shift, fostering genuine connections, the power of social care, mastering social selling, and finally, we'll wrap up with your Mountaineer action plan. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the social engagement shift, moving from push to pull. For a really long time, brands treated social media like it was just a giant megaphone. They honestly thought it was just a channel for pushing products, kind of like a business mindlessly handing out hundreds of identical flyers on King Street on a busy Saturday. Social strategist Christina Garnett totally dismantles that outdated idea. She asks, have you ever been on a first date where that other person just talked about themselves the entire time? You never want to see that person again. And it's the exact same thing with brands. Modern social media is all about building meaningful one-to-one relationships. If you're a brand just talking at your audience and never engaging back, they're going to bail because they realize you don't actually care. It's really critical to understand how we categorize these digital interactions. Bruno Cardellini, the head of marketing for North America at Popeyes, draws a distinct line between reactive customer service and proactive fan engagement. Customer service is inherently reactive. It's about giving immediate attention and resolving specific demands when someone has a problem. But fan engagement? That is proactive. It's lighthearted, it's fun, and it is entirely about relationship building. Both are essential, but fan engagement is where you actually make your brand feel truly alive. Moving right along to section 2, fostering genuine connections. Basically, making your brand human. Get this, 47% of consumers actually have a more favorable view of brands who simply take the time to respond to them on social media. It just shows you care. But on the flip side, ignoring your audience is incredibly risky. About half of consumers stated they would outright boycott a brand due to a poor response on social media. So your direct contact literally shapes your overall reputation. So how do we actually pull this off? Well, you want to respond transparently, use humor thoughtfully, offer some surprise value, conduct polls, and share other people's content. Imagine applying these to our local spots. Just like Keurig once asked their followers to choose between a green or blue brewer, imagine if Appalachia Cookie Co. pulled App State students on their next cookie flavor. Not only does it show they're listening, but acting on those results pretty much guarantees instant buy-in when that new flavor drops. And never ever underestimate the power of a simple smiley face. Using emojis can lead to a massive 47.7% increase in interactions on platforms like Instagram. It's a completely free tactic that instantly puts a personal, friendly face on your brand's content. Okay, section 3, the power of social care. Customer service as a marketing engine. Marketing expert Jay Baer hits the nail on the head here. He says, when customer service becomes public, it becomes a spectator sport. Think about that for a second. When you respond gracefully to a frustrated customer online, it's not just about fixing that one person's issue. Everyone else in your community is literally watching from the bleachers. They're forming their own opinions about your brand's integrity, your empathy, and your competence, based entirely on how you handle that one public exchange. But the stakes are high, and the clock is always ticking. Research shows a staggering 90% of customers want an immediate response when they have a question or a complaint. And critically, 60% of those customers define immediate as 10 minutes or less. That is an incredibly tight window to turn a potentially negative situation into a brand-building win. To manage those rapid-fire expectations and keep your team aligned, brands use what's called an SLA, or a service-level agreement. This formal commitment sets the precedent. It means an airline dealing with a canceled flight during a busy holiday obviously needs a much faster SLA than a local Boone Burger joint handling a complaint about cold fries. Knowing exactly what to prioritize is absolutely critical to maintaining your brand trust. So, that brings us to a really important question. We've built the trust, we've engaged the fans, and we've gracefully handled the trolls. How do we turn these genuine connections and stellar public service into actual conversions? How do we drive revenue without suddenly getting pushy and ruining that great relationship? That perfectly leads us into section 4, mastering social selling, providing value before the pitch. If any of you are eyeing future roles in B2B marketing, tech, or direct sales after graduation, this concept is going to be vital for your success. Social selling is when salespeople use social media to interact directly with prospects by providing value, answering questions, and offering thoughtful content until the prospect is actually ready to buy. It is absolutely not about spamming inboxes with generic sales pitches. It's about acting as an informed, genuinely helpful resource in your industry's community long before you ever ask for a dime. This approach is a real game changer because 67% of the buyer's journey is now entirely digital. This means your prospects aren't walking into stores or calling your sales reps to start their research anymore. They're looking at online reviews, reading forums, and checking out your social media presence long before they ever make contact with your sales team. Let's break down this highly strategic process. First up, you have to define your exact buyer persona so you know exactly who you're targeting. Second, use social listening to monitor industry trends and find out where your prospects are asking questions, like on LinkedIn forums. Third, intentionally follow the right people to build a curated network. And finally, provide value first to build trust and rapport. Just give away free advice, point them in the right direction, and be genuinely helpful. A textbook real-world example of this is T-Mobile. They used social listening to monitor a competitor's frustrated customer who was complaining online about data plans. Now, T-Mobile didn't jump in immediately to pitch. They waited to see if the competitor would resolve it first. When the competitor completely failed to respond after several hours, T-Mobile swooped in, offered the exact unlimited data plan the customer was wishing for, and provided personalized, helpful service. That simple, well-timed interaction actually sealed a 25-year switch from a competitor. And finally, Section 5, your Mountaineer Action Plan. Let's take these strategies into the real world. All right, App State, we have covered a ton of ground today. Now it's time to put it all together for your exams, your capstone projects, and eventually your future boardroom presentations. Whether you find yourself running digital marketing for Stickboy Bread Co. right here in Boone, or you're out there leading a massive global campaign for a Fortune 500 company, the fundamentals remain exactly the same. You must prioritize one-to-one relationship building over broadcasting, you need to define your service level agreements for customer care, and you absolutely must lead by providing upfront value to your community. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought for your next project. If your brand was a person at a networking event, would people actually want to talk to you, or are you just handing out business cards to the wall? Take a hard look at your brand's digital personality. Ask yourself, are you truly connecting or just broadcasting? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Mountaineers, keep building those genuine connections, and good luck with your social strategies.